Right, hello there. I'll be showing you how to install DMD and Dub Package Build Manager. DMD is the reference compiler for the D programming language, and this means basically it gets all the cool features first. Yay! Also gets the best support. Now, the Dub Pack Build Manager is essentially what the D community has come to accept as the D most standard build manager. This means it handles all the packages and builds them for you. Very, very nice. And you get a nice, and there's a repository with all the packages there, so you can include them as dependencies. Very, very easy to work with. If you've ever used Maven, it's a little bit like that for the dependency management, which is nice. Now, first of all, to get started, you have a bunch of downloads available on the D Programming Languages website under dlang.org-download.html. Now, there's a few here which are related to Linux distributions. Unless you're on Linux, don't worry about that too much. Note, the ones in your distributions repositories might be older than what's available here, which is 2.064.2. There's also a Mac version and Windows. Now, as you'll notice, there's other compilers like the GDC. Again, this basically just takes advantage of the GNU toolchain, which provides GCC, G++ for C++ and C. And then you got LDC for, which is another toolchain together. And you've also got Visual D, which is basically Visual Studio support. Don't worry too much about that at this point in time. I'll be showing you how to get MonoDevelop working with MonoD instead at a later video. Now you probably won't need things like the DMC compiler provided by Digital Mars. Digital Mars is owned by Walter Bright, and he is the lead developer for D. He was also the brainchild for it. Well, D's actually the brainchild of Walter Bright, I should say. Now, getting started, I'm going to be getting the zip file from here, mainly because it's just easy to get going, and I don't want it to be modifying any of the path variables or whatnot, which DXC will do for you. Which isn't a bad thing because Dub does this as well. It modifies it, and you won't be able to get it by itself. Which again is fine. You can remove it, but don't need to for DMD. Now, I've already downloaded it and extracted it. Just to show you what's inside the zip file when you download it, you have the DMD directory, well DMD2, and all these files and directories. Now, if we go back to the other directory in my recorder, you'll see DMD2 with all the buttons here, like Windows and all that. Now, unless you're really working in Linux, if you're working in Linux, you probably want to use the packages like the debs and the RPMs just to make it easier on yourself. There's also some documentation here, but that's available on the site itself, so there's no real need to that. However, there's a nice PDF I'll find. Anyway. Now, for Windows, basically you need to add this directory to your path variable, and I'll show you how to do that with a very neat tool. It's called the Path Manager. How original. Now, the link will be in the description. So here it is. Now, as you can see, it's basically like this. For this, all you have to do is basically click add, select it from a list, and then, well, save, log out, log back in, or restart. At least on Windows, on my machine, it's a bit finicky and it's not happy with saving it and then just opening up command prompt. Now, I'm using a Cygwin environment on here. Cygwin is basically a way to get a bunch of Linux utilities and code to run on Windows. It's not like a full port of Linux, but it's enough to get you going for most stuff. Now, I've already set it up. I've already added DMD to my path just to prove it to you. So, yes. Now, I've already installed Dub. I'll get to that in a second, where to download that from. So, yeah. Don't worry about all the switches. You won't need them for a while. Next, Dub. Dub is available as installers for a bunch of platforms. That's cool. Probably won't need to worry about the release history and all that. Now, if you're on Debian, you'll want to use the dapt repository available on SourceForge. There's also a homebrew one for Mac OS X. So, but unless you really don't know what that is, don't worry. As you can see, here you just basically follow the instructions and it will allow you to install it. It has available DMD, the latest version. It also has Phobos, which is the standard library for D. Also a bunch of other libraries, won't get into them, and Dub. So you'll be able to install Dub and DMD via this one repository if you're on Debian. Now, you'll notice up here a bunch of files, like the spec, well, the PDF. PDF is absolutely brilliant. Even if you're not looking at as a Debian or you're not on a Debian based Linux distribution, please look at this. To me at least, these are the best way to read and learn D. Well, at least if you understand the basics of it and want to just learn new languages, new parts of the language. So here everything is defined. What can pragmas. So you can look at the predefined pragmas and you can just see what each of them does, how you can use them, and you've got Render specific pragmas, all that sort of good stuff. Associative arrays, which is like, I can put this, like a hash map or a member key dictionary, if you know what Jade is, which would be absolutely scary because it's horrible, not just because it's the way it was designed, nothing wrong with it really, but yes, lots of things, really cool. Have a read of that if you ever get bored or you really want to learn something new about D. I highly recommend that. And there's the URL. Right. So that is essentially setting up the bare bones for working with D. To recap, and that's basically I've shown you how to essentially install DMD, which is the D reference compiler, and the Dub build manager. Dub will be very useful once you start having dependencies that go beyond Phobos or multiple files. Other than that, really useful. And that's it. Thank you for watching.